Right now, shifting our focus to some more breaking news, some exclusive information that our investigation editor Manoj Gupta gets for us. Pannun and his goons are coming to sensitive installations like airport now. That's the bit of news that we are getting. You would remember that in the name of freedom of expression, a lot of anti-India activities have been allowed on the Canadian soil, and that has been the key bone of contention between the Indian authorities and the Canadian authorities, and that's one reason why the diplomatic tensions continue to be on an all-time high. Now, they're not only at an airport security risk, but they're also intimidating passengers. Some kind of so-called boycott Air India campaign that is going on by this particular organization. My colleague Abhishek Jha joining us on the broadcast. Abhishek, fill us with more details. Have the Canadian authorities said anything in this regard?
Well, so far there has not been any statement that has been released from the Canadian authorities. We know that airports are very high in security stuff, and we can assume that all the protocols will be followed. But the concern is from the people related to this Khalistani movement who have called for picketing against outbound flights going from Canada's Vancouver. All Air India flights, we have already known that Pannun has issued a threat and intimidation to all the passengers who wish to fly Air India flights. And this is coming especially at a time when India-Canada bilateral ties are already on one of the lowest point. And despite the fact that India has raised concern that Khalistani elements are trying to disrupt the social harmony, they are trying to intimidate and threaten Indian communities and Indian business interests in Canada, the Canadian government has been very lax in acting against these elements.
The Canadian authorities have been very lax in acting against these elements. The fact that they are an airport security risk, there were also certain stories of intimidation of the passengers that have happened. So, Abhishek, so far there is no action that has happened from the local police or any other authorities?
Not. They have been just trying to avoid everything inside the airport, but we know, though the number of these Khalistani elements, they're just few, they're handful in numbers, but they do try to send a very strong message that they are here, they are picketing at the airport, they are trying to discourage and in a way intimidate Indians who are going to board those flights, those Air India flights from Vancouver airport. And this is a thing that Pannun has already given a threat few days ago, and now these things have started happening, and picketing by these Khalistani goons have started happening in some of the airports in Canada.
Abhishek, we must put into context what has happened recently. The kind of tensions we have seen between the two countries, the diplomatic tensions, and also how nations like United States of America has gotten involved into all of this. There are serious allegations that the Canadian authorities made. The Indian government continues to assert that all these allegations are without any substance, but the moot issue remains that the so-called elements which are allowed in the name of freedom of speech are anti-India elements which directly threaten the integrity and sovereignty of the country, and these particular voices have not been taken with the same kind of seriousness that they should have been by the administration.
Well, let's see, in the name of freedom of expression, what Canada has allowed to grow on its soil has been a threat that is directly anti-India, that is totally concerning India's national security assets. And we have already seen the implication of it. It has already brought in the Canada-India bilateral relationship to the lowest point in the last few decades. So the freedom of expression is just a pretense. We know that these elements are being accommodated in the society, in the political and social space in Canada because of their political vote capital that they have and that they promise to any party who wish to be in power in Canada. And we know that Justin Trudeau's minority government has the support of these elements.
Let me quickly take in a word from Major General A.K. Sivaj, who's joining us on the broadcast. Sir, thank you so much for speaking with us. Thank you for joining us on the broadcast. Not the first time that we are discussing the anti-India activities happening on the Canadian soil, but this particular so-called group, the Sikh for Justice and Pannun, this time there was an open intimidation that happened to the passengers at the airport, and also some so-called campaign which is about boycotting Air India. What should we pursue as a nation as far as the Canadian authorities are concerned, because the Indian government has put the entire diplomatic pressure and urged the Canadian authorities to take some kind of substantial action against them?
Very correctly said. See, the point is, as far as Canada is concerned, Justin Trudeau is playing with fire. The way on the name of freedom of speech, allowing all these activities to take place in Canada and the way openly GS Pannun group Sikh for Justice is now challenging that no one can go in Air India flight, also that Air India flights are in a danger. I think that he's taking things too far. And Canada, one should understand that the way the things are going, the relationship between India and Canada are the lowest ebb today. The free trade agreement is now being on a cold storage. Bilateral relations are down. And this is all due to one thing, that Justin Trudeau is not able to control this anti-India sentiment which are growing there in Canada. And this is all done for internal politics, because since his government is a minority government and he needs the support of Jagmeet Singh Party, New Democratic Party, who himself is known as a Khalistani activist and a supporter of Khalistan, he's doing what he's doing. But he's not understanding the way he's allowing all these anti-Indian groups and the Khalistani supporters to take law in their own hand. They are the citizen of Canada, and it is the duty of Canada government to take action against them. They are openly challenging Indian authority. They are openly telling people not to go by our flight. They are now coming openly in the state. What sort of law is there in Canada? Why are they not taking action? So the point is, it is not only that India is telling, but will, on the name of democracy, you allow like this to happen? That can we allow such a thing to happen in India? We will certainly not allow. And
I believe,
sir, Indian citizen.
I believe, sir, that's precisely the reason why the diplomatic relations and ties between the two nations are at an all-time low at this point in time. Major General Sivaj, thank you so much for joining us on The Nation at 5 this evening.